Friends in the Corner, a new podcast experience in the bluegrass state of Kentucky. Welcome back, everyone. It's episode 12 coming at you here today, and the final day of October, which means we have come to the end of our October Originals. I want to say thank you to everyone who has tuned in and listened to this month of our episodes of original content. I hope you guys have enjoyed listening as much as we've enjoyed recording them. And I want to give a special shout out to all of my friends who have been a part of the last month of recording with me. Thank you, Travis Bauman, Chris Wilson, Evan Drysdale, Isaac and Zach Nichols, Daniel Summers, and Will Carpenter for your contributions to the show. And I hope to have many of you back on the show real soon. And remember, if you haven't heard any of our original content or interviews yet, you can always find our show archives on all podcasting services, which includes iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, and Google Play. We are also on YouTube if you want to go on there and subscribe to us as well. If you want to keep up with what's coming up on the show and some future episodes, you can also follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at FITC Podcast. That's FITC Podcast. And you can always email the show at friendsinthecorner@gmail.com. That's friendsinthecorner, all together lowercase, at gmail.com. But happy Halloween, everyone. We got to enjoy this while we can, because in 24 hours, everything switchovers to Christmas mode. And I don't know about you guys, but November 1st always feels too early for me to start celebrating Christmas. I mean, we still got one more holiday left before we have to go into Christmas mode. Can we just focus on that first? Let me get past Thanksgiving, and then we can start celebrating the next holiday. But you know what is worth celebrating this time of year? Being a member of Big Blue Nation. Yes, UK football had a nail-biting, ugly win versus Missouri this past weekend. But nonetheless, Benny and the boys are 6-1 for the season. When was the last time you heard that? Kentucky football 6-1. And these boys hold their destiny in their hands this weekend as they got a big, understatement of the century, big matchup against Georgia at home. SEC Nation's going to be here. The game is sold out. It's going to be crazy in Lexington this weekend. You don't want to miss it. But hey, let's not forget, we're only talking about football so far. We got to get excited because BBN, Kentucky basketball, is back. Yes, Cal and the boys kick off the season against Duke in the State Farm Classic next Tuesday. And as usual, this class has a lot of high expectations with some old faces coming back, some new faces coming in, and always a challenging schedule ahead of them. So I thought the only way to dissect this upcoming UK basketball season properly was to commit an entire episode to previewing the basketball team for the season. And I couldn't do this alone, so I decided to bring back a familiar voice to you guys to the podcast for this episode. So making his return to Friends in the Corner, Mr. Adam Banks of Off the Cuff. Here's what we have to say about the upcoming season. Let's go! All right. Well, we've got a friend of the show back here with us, Mr. Adam Banks of Off the Cuff. How you doing, my friend?
I'm good, Dan. Thanks for having me back on Friends in the Corner podcast.
No problem, man. Well, hey, you were on the second episode that I did, and now you're going to be on the 12th episode. So I've just decided every 10 episodes I do, I'm just going to have you back on. So.
Oh, that's great. That's a good, well-rounded number. I like that.
All the twos, man. So.
Yeah, and looks like you upgraded your studio. You got a few new microphones.
Yeah, we're testing out a few different things here, trying to expand the show as much as possible. So it's been a fun couple months trying to get everything together. A lot of fun, excitement, stress, and beer all in the same combo.
I've really enjoyed your shows, man. I've listened to a few episodes. I've really enjoyed them. You're doing a good job.
I appreciate it, man. Well, if you ever want to come on a bourbon review, we'd love to have you.
Oh, gosh. What I loved about that bourbon review is I was listening to that show, and I could tell by every 5-minute increments, I could tell that you and your co-host were getting drunker and drunker and drunker by the minute. So it sounds like a good time. I'll be on board for that.
It was a good time, man. We try to keep it realistic. We got to make bourbon drinking as fun to listen to as possible. So
there you go.
Yeah. So awesome, man. Well, we're excited to have you back on this special episode that we're doing, and a series we like to call October Originals. I get a little excited about that.
Ooh, I like that. Yeah. I like that.
But what we're going to do here to roll out the end of this month is a UK basketball preview for the season.
Excited to talk about some UK basketball.
And it's funny because I feel like we've kind of circled back around here, because I know on both of our shows we talked about how we didn't want to be a UK sports podcast. Mm-hmm. Neither one of our shows, and we still kind of stand to that ground.
Yes,
but we're talking UK sports tonight. So.
Exactly, because it's fun to do it every now and then.
Yeah.
It can be overdone. Mm-hmm. These people who, bless their hearts, that do podcasts daily on these UK shows, I don't know how they do it. And like I said, God bless them. But I felt like that I had a little bit more substance about myself to talk about other things besides sports all the time. Right. But to sit down and do it every now and then, it's fun. And plus, you could cram more into an episode that you don't do all the time.
Exactly. And we're going to make it fun here, especially for this episode here. So we're going to put our hats on. We're going to hone our inner Dick Gabriels, our inner Matt Joneses, our inner Kyle Tuckers,
our Ryan Lemons, our Drew Franklins,
our
Curtis Birches,
our BB and Chalk Talks guys, and we're going to talk some UK sports here. Before we get in the basketball, man, I guess we got to talk about football first, right?
How about UK football? They are 6-1,
6-1 bowl eligible. This is the earliest they've been bowl eligible since I think the 1940s. I saw some stat not too long ago that says it's been a while since we've gotten this. We've gotten bowl eligible this early in a season.
Yeah, we are already bowl eligible, and that kind of was an afterthought for a lot of people. A lot of people wasn't even talking about becoming bowl eligible. We were just excited that we were winning, and now we are so early. Here it is, October. We're already eligible to go to a bowl, and honest to God, we could win 10 games this season. That is crazy, and I have to go ahead and apologize because last time I was on this show, I had a lot of colorful things to say about Mark Stoops. And was that preseason?
That was preseason. That was August, yes.
Okay, so that was August. Here's what I have to say about that. It's about time, Stoops, that you get them to where they need to be. It's about time. I love what you're doing. You're doing great. Keep it up. But it's about time. It's year 6. We need to pacify us. You're going to have to at least get us more than 7. We want 8, and we want to go to a bowl and win the bowl.
So are you saying that you're now on the Mark Stoops bandwagon?
No, I am not on the Mark Stoops bandwagon, but I do like what he's doing. And the reason I'm not on the Mark Stoops bandwagon is he's going to have to be consistent with these years. Mm-hmm. I want to see what he can do without Snell on the offense next year, because our offense looks pretty terrible.
I'll tell you, that Rose kid doesn't look too bad either, though.
He reminds me a lot of Boom Williams. Mm-hmm. So I think it's just going to be another carbon copy Boom Williams. It's going to be hard to beat Vinny Snell. He's the best running back Kentucky's ever had.
Right, absolutely. Well, I'll tell you who may or may not be excited to hear what you have to say about Mark Stoops here is our former colleague from BCTC. Well, my current colleague, I'm still there, but Linnell Gill, our favorite.
Yes, and Linnell, I heard that you're a little upset with me for not liking Mark Stoops. Listen, I appreciate what Mark Stoops has been able to do, but he's going to have to be a little bit more. He's working on it. He's growing on me. He's going to have to be a little bit more consistent with it, but it doesn't change the way I feel about you, Linnell. You're still one of my favorite people in the entire world.
Cheers to Linnell.
Cheers to Linnell.
All right. Well, we're going to jump right here in the basketball season, man. So by the time this podcast episode comes up, we are going to be a week from that big matchup is it Indianapolis or Chicago?
It is in Indianapolis.
Indianapolis against Duke. Number 1 recruiting class versus number 2 recruiting class, man. So what are your feelings about just how we're getting the season started off here? Everything you've been hearing, I'm assuming, did you watch the blue and white game?
I did not watch the blue and white game, and I will tell you why in just a second. I love the way we're getting the season started, first of all, with playing Duke. Mm-hmm. Right out of the gate, it's an explosion. We have a huge game with the Duke the Duke Blue Devils, and you got Coach K versus Coach Cal. And then you got the Wildcats versus the Blue Devils. It's one of the best programs.
Classic basketball game.
It's a classic basketball game right off the gate. And what's going to be interesting about this game is it's their first game for each team. Mm-hmm. So teams are still going to be trying to figure out how to play with each other. Teams are going to be trying to still see how their chemistry is going to work on the court. And it's hard to determine that in such a challenging game on the first game. And we're not used to that. We're usually playing schools like Grand Canyon or Winthrop our first game.
Right.
And right out of the gate, here we are playing Duke, and we got to show up. We got to show out.
Right. On a neutral court, but it is Indianapolis. That's basically a quick travel up there. You going to be going to that game?
I would love to go to that game. I do not have my tickets yet. What are the tickets going for? Like $1,000 a piece?
More than BCTC will pay me.
Yeah. Off the cuff doesn't pay me that much to go there. I need a media pass. Maybe I can get one for the podcast.
No, we'll see. Hey, if anyone up there in UK media, you can help off the cuff get some passes there. I'm looking at you, Max Godby. Help out.
Max Godby, yes.
But awesome, man. Well, man, and now we're coming up into this new season here, and we are faced with something that UK has faced over the last couple of years since Cal's come on here, something we're used to seeing where as old faces leave, new faces are coming in, and they're lining up with this year with additions of highly recruited freshmen like we always do, and Emmanuel Quickly, Tyler Hero, Keldon Johnson, and EJ Montgomery. Who are you most excited to watch this year? Is it any of these freshmen, or is it? We'll talk about some of the older players that are on this team too. But how about these freshmen so far?
It is actually a freshman that I am very excited about watching, and that is Tyler Hero. I think that Tyler Hero is going to be a folk hero in this state, and no pun intended there. And I think that we have been looking for a player like Tyler Hero to cheer for a long time. He is like the second coming of Rex Chapman. And Rex Chapman, many people know, played for Eddie Sutton back in the 1980s. Everyone loved Rex Chapman. He was just a huge shooting guard who was unbelievable. And Tyler Hero is kind of a replica of that. He reminds people of that. He is a 6'5" shooting guard. 6'5", 192-pound shooting guard. So it does bring some size to that position. And you're looking at a guy who used to score 45-point triple-doubles in high school all the time.
He averaged 32 points a game his senior year of high school.
Yeah, we can say that and let that roll off the tongue, but if you really think about that, that is a lot. And I didn't watch the blue and white game, but I did hear about the blue and white game, and I heard that he was the dominant player on the floor.
Yes, he had, and I've got the stats right here, he had 34 points, he had 5 rebounds, 4 assists, 4 steals. Now, this is against, our own teammates here, but still, he came ready to show up and show Lexington what he has in store for the team.
Exactly. And what I like about Tyler Hero is that he's not streaky. He's very consistent. And you can expect him to go in and be solid from the three-point range. And with him, with his size and his ability, I know he came in as a 4-star instead of a 5-star, but I'm really excited to see what he can do. I think he is going to be a legend at Kentucky, and he's going to do it within a year. We'll only have him for a year, I think.
Right.
But he is going to – you think Tyler Eulis won the hearts over this state. Wait until Tyler Hero plays. I'm telling you.
All right. Yeah, so actually on my watch list too, Tyler Hero's there, along with Emmanuel Quickly. I watched a few of his highlights too. Just a fast kid going down there. He was they talked about he was a 2-time state champion when he was in high school, which I know high school and college is 2 different things. Going from your small 500-person gym to Rupp Arena is a little bit different there. But I think he came ready to play, and he's ready to show up. Both these kids are.
You're right. And I heard Emmanuel is very good on defense, too. And I don't like the blue and white game because, to me, there's no –
Is this why you didn't watch it?
That's why I didn't watch it. There's no challenge to it. It's just kind of a scrimmage. It is a scrimmage. It's just a practice. But you don't really get to see how the team is going to be defensively.
So it's kind of like Big Blue Madness. Do you have the same –
I do. Yeah. I'm not a big fan of Big Blue Madness. I did not watch Big Blue Madness. I watched the introductions. I went back and watched it. It's just a big pep rally. I really get into Kentucky basketball right around exhibition time, which is coming up. And I don't like those games because you don't get to see how the team is defensively. And you talk about Emmanuel quickly. He is supposed to be a very good defensive player as well as offensive, and you can't really see that in the blue and white. So I can't wait to see what he's going to bring on the defensive end.
Right, and he'll have a big old challenge ready for him with Duke, and a lot of those players we missed out on are going there. And Duke kind of faces a similar challenge to us each year. They get rid and reload.
Yes.
And we'll talk a little bit how that down the road here on the show, how that might change coming up very shortly.
Yeah, I'm definitely excited that they're playing Duke right off the gate because they're going to have that. They're going to have that challenge, and we're going to kind of get to see where Kentucky is right off the bat. They're preseason ranked number 2. They just can't ever give it to Kentucky number 1. They just can't do it to us. But sometimes I feel like it can be a curse if you're number 1 right off the gate. Everybody's rooting for you to fail. So we can go up.
I always root for Duke to fail. So well, we've talked about some of the new faces that are coming into UK this year, but we're actually from the last couple of years, we're kind of in a new stage too, where we've got some old faces coming back as well. So some of the returners we've got PJ Washington, Quade Green, and Nick Richards. What do you think of these guys that are returning? What do you expect out of some of these guys that are returning this year?
Well, it's funny that we call second-year players veterans.
Isn't it?
It's funny, but that's just the landscape of Kentucky. I am excited to see these players come back. I saw P.J. Washington during the Bahamas games. That guy looks like a different person. It looks like he started working out after the season ended and hasn't stopped. And he's completely transformed his body. He's just so much more built, and his size is going to be huge for us coming in. He missed those free throws that people say cost us the Sweet 16 game. Remember that?
Yeah.
His free throws have gotten better, and I even seen highlights of the blue and white game. His free throws have improved there. P.J. Washington is going to be crucial. It's hard to find a championship team that's won without veterans. Right. Even Kentucky in 2012, they were led by freshman Anthony Davis, but we still had veterans. We still had Darius Miller. And without those guys, we wouldn't have won the championship.
Right.
So it takes veterans. And, they're 2-year veterans, but they're still veterans. Quade Green, I think I'm going to go ahead and say he's my favorite player. I'm excited to watch Harrow, but right now Quade's got the favorite player award from me.
Well, Cal's even been on the record. He's talked to some of these. He's talked to the Herald Leader and a couple of other outlets talking about how he just sees a whole new person in Quade Green from his work over this summer and stuff like that. And hopefully that shows here. I want to see, my biggest thing I feel like is going to either help or hurt our team is how Nick Richards plays.
That is so funny because you just took the words out of my mouth. I was about to say Nick Richards is almost a deciding factor of how this team does.
6'11", he is the biggest man on our team. Wingspan, I mean, he looks like an Anthony Davis. He maybe not plays like an Anthony Davis, but he looks like one of those big guys that should be the castle and key to our defense. And all that stuff. And last year really wasn't the best year for him. Kind of has some of his stats are here. He averaged 5 points a game, only 4 rebounds a game. He only played for about 14 minutes a game. His biggest game that he had last season was against Fort Wayne, where he scored 33 points and 15 rebounds. But then everything kind of went a little downhill from him there. I don't even think he really started many games after that, or any. Did he not?
He didn't. He started off, Nick Richards, I called him Butterfingers because he always let the ball slip out of his hands.
Yeah.
And I know it's just been a pep rally and it's just been a scrimmage, but he looks better.
Yeah.
And I watched the Bahama games because there was some competitiveness to
you're
those
playing,
games.
Quote unquote pro teams when you're going to play the Bahamas. They may not be like the Team USA, but they are still pro teams playing in the Olympics. So.
Exactly. Yeah. And he just looks so good, but he is going to be the deciding factor. We need Nick Richards to show out. Yeah. And all those guys coming back, that is the reason why Kentucky is even ranked number 2. I think if we just had our incoming freshmen, we wouldn't be number 2. We would be more around like 8 or 9.
Right.
But these players coming back, Quade, Richards, Washington, all these Johnny David, Brad Calipari,
Yeah.
those guys, all of those guys. We are going to be a solid team. We are.
Hey, Brad, he got some points in the blue and white game. I was proud of him. So.
He does. They say he does really good in practice, and blue and white is just like a practice, so it makes sense. But I wished he would do it in the game.
Yeah. Well, so here's the thing about the I don't want to call them the bench warmers here, but those players that come on and they're there to kind of fill out the roster a little bit there. I think Cal's kind of talked about how it's important it is for them to keep coming to practice and stuff like that, because really when these guys come in who are coming from high school and they were the best players on their team, you're maybe going it may be Anthony Davis versus Jared Paulson, but Jared's been around for 4 years. Anthony Davis is coming in. I know that they weren't. But you get the hint I'm going at here. So they can still kind of go push against them and kind of make those players better. You know what I mean? So,
yeah. Just like Reed Travis, a new guy coming in.
Yes, and I'd love to talk here about what you expect out of Reed Travis. So
Reed Travis, that guy is wow. He's a guy coming in. He's a fifth-year college player. Mm-hmm. He is a transfer from Stanford,
yes, sir.
Which is, for a second I was wondering where Stanford was, and I was like, it ain't at Stanford, Connecticut. It's out in California, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Ivy League.
It's not Ivy League, but it's like held in that same regard. Yes.
Okay.
Pac-12 school.
So he's obviously got to be smart to go to that school. So I think that that's going to be something he's going to bring to the team. He's going to bring a good mindset with him. He's going to be looked upon as a leader. When you are thrust into the spotlight like you are at Kentucky, at the Kentucky basketball level, you are put on stages. I mean, look, they're thrown right off the bat, prime time against Duke. Mm-hmm. Some of these freshmen are not going to know how to handle that. You have somebody like Reed Travis who knows how to handle that. He's been there before. He's not been on the stage like UK, but he has had that experience.
Right.
And we're going to have somebody level-headed, someone smart to be able to handle those situations. And I think that the freshman will feed off that, and not to mention he's just unbelievably big.
Oh yeah,
and he can rebound like crazy.
When I saw that he got signed or he committed to UK, I was like, "Are you sure?" but I mean, but you kind of hit on the nail head. It's like maybe he's not played on a stage like playing at Kentucky, but he's played on a stage. Pac-12 basketball is a pretty big conference right now. He's gone against UCLA.
Yes.
He's gone against Washington, and he's gone against USC's, Utah's. Like, so there's some big teams that do a lot of good stuff over the season in the Pac-12, and now he's getting ready to come to the SEC, which is kind of on the fringe, similar to like the Pac-12 has been the last couple of years. It's like it's been getting better and becoming more recognized as a conference altogether. So,
and what's interesting also too about Reed Travis is I read that in high school he was a quarterback, and a lot of these athletes like that play sports in college, they usually are triple athletes. They play baseball, football, basketball, or that's what they play. And Reed Travis was a quarterback. The qualities of a quarterback, I think, transfers perfectly over to a basketball team. You got to show leadership. You have to be the guy who controls, the game. And with his experience, his age, his mind, his just experience of even being a quarterback, the freshmen are really going to benefit from him.
And so that's what I think what gets me excited about this team this season is it's not perfect, and maybe it's too early to put them in the same breath as the 2012 team. Mm-hmm. But I mean, the pieces are there. Reed Travis is your Darius Miller. You've got your seasoned sophomores like you had Jones and Lamb back in the day. Mm-hmm. Then you got your freshmen that are coming in like Quickly, Quickly could be your Kid Gilchrist, or
right.
You know what I mean. But you got all the parts there that this could be a good team that makes a run here.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah. It's it's Kentucky has all of the formula to make a team, dare I say, go 40-0.
Knock on wood.
Yeah. I said, dare I say, they have all the ingredients to have a team that could go 40-0.
Well, and see, that's the thing about being a Kentucky fan, man. Because we sit here, we're gonna by the time the show comes out, just a couple a week removed from the start of the season here, and we can salivate about the expectation about Kentucky.
Yeah.
But then a lot of stuff happens between now and then. Once we get in the SEC play, SEC tournament, then we finally get into March Madness. And the last couple of years, we've had some early exits out of March Madness here. So I want to ask you, do you think that there is more pressure on Cal this year to go further in the tournament than there has been maybe in previous seasons?
Yes. The book is still being written for John Calipari. His legacy at Kentucky is without a doubt going to go down in history as one of the best eras of Kentucky basketball. Mm-hmm. I mean, what's not to love about Calipari in his era? He has won 81% of his games. He's taken us to 4 or 5 Final Fours.
Final Fours, been the 2 championships and won one.
Yeah, he's won one. But this is why Calipari needs one more. He needs one more, Dan, before people leave him alone and people shut up. Because if he wins one more, it's going to silence the national media. They're going to quit talking about, oh, can Cal coach? That's going to shut them up. If you win 2, which it's hard to do. Mm-hmm. It's hard to do. There's a lot of legends out there that haven't won 2. I mean, you got Roy Williams, you got Rick Pitino, you got Coach K, who have gotten there.
Villanova's coach, I can't remember his name off the top of my head.
Jay Wright.
Jay Wright, he's won 2.
Yeah, there have been a few coaches to get there, but it's hard. There's a lot of great coaches that haven't. And Calipari is one of them. But he needs another one to silence the Big Blue Nation. And I say this because even though that we've had all these great things happen under the Calipari umbrella, this era of Calipari, there have been some disappointing losses in the tournament that can get fans frustrated. I mean, we went 39-1. That frustrated the heck out of it. Still frustrates me. We took an exit from the game we went to the championship game in back in 2014. Now, even though that was special, it still was so close enough to make it frustrating. So we've had the number 1 recruiting class every year. I mean, we're outstanding. We have all this talent and only one title.
Right.
So Cal, in order him to convince that his method is working, he needs 2. I think 2 is the magic number. And also, Cal needs 2 to solidify his legend at Kentucky. Now, yeah, you got Pitino, won 1 at Kentucky. Smith won 1 at Kentucky. And Joby Hall has won 1 at Kentucky, and Cal has won 1 at Kentucky. So he's on the same level as them. But if you want to start getting buildings named after you and courts named after you,
if you want Cal Court and you want Cal Arena,
you have to have at least 2.
Right.
You can't do it with 1. So yes, I think it is important, and fans are going to start growing more and more frustrated if he does. Yes, he wins, and I think it's stupid that anyone says they should fire Cal.
Yeah.
Go home.
Who are you going to get better than him?
You're not.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that for his legend, he needs to.
And I think, I mean, you watched the Coach Cal 30 for 30, I'm assuming, right?
It was excellent.
It was wonderful. But I kind of got the sense there. I mean, he kind of, I'm not trying to put words in his mouth, but kind of in a stance said what's important to him more is making sure that these kids are in a good place so that when they leave Kentucky, they're in a better place. That doesn't always mean winning a title.
That was a very unpopular thing he said. I remember a lot of people got mad when he said that. And as a college basketball fan, yeah, I can see why you would get mad because as great as that is, that Cal wants the best for those kids and their families. That's not what a college basketball fan wants. They want championships,
right?
And they don't want to listen to the violin play all the time.
They want to. Well, Kentucky, and I think it's kind of fair to say, we want to talk about our program the way Alabama talks about football.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah,
and it's not maybe the reason Cal hasn't won championship after championship is because his main focus isn't championships. But again, that could just be an excuse for why he hasn't won more than one.
Right. And this might all change next year.
Yeah,
with stuff here. You've heard all about the G League stuff going on here.
Yes.
And so just to fill people in here, it's been announced, I think within the last couple of weeks or days here, that the NBA G League is going to begin offering contracts to quote unquote elite players to start in the G League instead of going to college. So they'll be able to go straight into the G League, play there, and then they'll be able to be drafted, I'm assuming, in the NBA. Now, they don't say how many contracts are given out or how they're going to be distributed or but I mean, this does have an impact on Cal's recruiting. And this has an impact on Duke's recruiting too. But Cal, who has been the face of the one-and-done program, or the one-and-done process, it really kind of will be interesting to see how that will work out for him, because he'll still get big recruits, I'm sure. But will those players stay longer? Will they still be kind of a one-and-done process? Will that kind of trickle out? But it's kind of going to be interesting to see.
It will. Not only is this big and a game changer for John Calipari, this is a game changer for the sport of college basketball. So the D League, or the G League.
G League. They're putting money into call it the G League.
The G League, the Gatorade League, formerly the D League. Right now, they have come up with a figure of $125,000, and they're calling these select contracts for freshmen that they feel like are good enough to not have to go to college, come to the G League, develop, and then hopes of going to the next level.
So that they can be freshmen in college. They're not going to recruit them right out of high school.
Did I say freshmen in college?
Yeah.
Okay, so seniors right out of high school. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's not freshmen in college.
Just wanted to make sure, because I was like, then Cal's doing okay.
Yes, it's seniors right out of high school. So this is huge for the sport, because I like that they're doing this, and I'll tell you why. One, it's going to put to rest the conversation of should college athletes be paid. Because listen to this. This is interesting. As it currently stands, college athletes get a free college education plus access to top quality coaching, medical care, strength and conditioning training, and valuable media exposure.
That's how that's in the NCAA. It's kind of
so the NCAA is saying that is equivalent to the figure of $125,000 because of everything that they're getting while coming to play for their team. That free education, that media exposure, that medical care.
You know what else is the equivalent to $125,000?
What?
$125,000.
Exactly. So that's why the G League, I feel like, didn't just throw out this random number. I think they went to colleges or to someone over this who's in college athletics, and they said, what do you think? Put a number on what you think students are getting in return from going to play for your school. And they probably put a $125,000 value on there. So if you still have students that are seniors in high school that still choose to go to college over taking $125,000 cash in the G League, that right there answers the question that college basketball is more valuable than going to the G League. And college basketball is, you don't have to pay the players because they're still choosing that exposure. They're choosing that medical care. They're choosing that education in return for instead of the money. So that just kind of puts to silence that whole, should college athletes be paid? Well, right now, if they're choosing to go to college over joining the G League.
Well, and I've always thought about this too when it comes to college athletics and stuff like that, where they talk about being paid. So I'm actually on the defense where I do think players maybe not be paid, but maybe should receive endorsements or something like that. That's just kind of my defense. But I've always thought about this. If it's very important for a player to get paid, or people feel like they should get paid, why don't they go play overseas after college, like Tracy McGrady? Yeah. And, then you can go to Europe and maybe make $125,000 and then go get drafted. Now, the difference is if you go over to Europe, you probably don't get the same attention that you would in the States that you would if you played at Kentucky or Duke.
Exactly.
And so that is significantly more valuable to these players for their bottom line, what they make when they get drafted to these teams.
So not only does it, like I said, it changes the game of the sport, college basketball, but yes, back to your original question about Calipari, how it will affect him, it most definitely will, because the John Calipari era as the head coach of Kentucky, it's been defined for his recruiting.
Right.
How well he recruits and how well he can turn freshmen into superstars and how he depends on freshmen to carry his team. With this new rule in place, he's not going to have the Anthony Davises. He's not going to have the John Walls. Yes, they're still going to be the best that college basketball has to offer, but can he rely on second forgive me for saying second-rate players, because they are. The first rate went to the D-League.
Yeah, they're playing here to. I mean, they're playing here to get to there.
Yes. So if he's getting these second-rate players, can he depend on them to take him to the national championship?
And what I think when I think about that is, I think it'd be twofold depending on how it goes. So I still think he'll still, for what you said, get the best players he can get on the college level. Now, if they're not going to be the all-stars we've always expected, like you're talking about, but I do think like that could work for him because as we've talked about with this team, we're excited about how there's veteran players here, and for the first time in a while, this is going to be a team of veteran players. So he might be able to have that, be able to recruit players and retain players to create a team that can compete in the college basketball realms.
Yep.
Man, but yeah, when I heard about the G League contracts, I thought, man, that's going to shake up a lot of what we've known over the last couple of years. And I went to college during the entire Coach Cal era.
Yeah.
So I mean, I had classes with Anthony Davis and John Wall and all those guys, and it's going to be interesting to see the change and stuff like that. Another thing I want to ask you about here, because I mean, we're getting excited about college basketball, but when I talk to people in Lexington, you know, they're not as, maybe it's just because it's still a couple weeks away from when we're recording, but it's not really hit them yet that college basketball season has started. Now, do you think that has something to do with the college football, with how good we've been doing football-wise? Just like because by this time, traditionally, football's already
an afterthought,
and we're already have already switched our minds to basketball here. But now football, we've got Georgia coming up. We've got a huge game here. We have a possibility of going and getting our ass kicked by Alabama and Atlanta, and don't we all want that? But do you think that has had an impact on kind of the fandom of UK basketball this season?
Of course, yes. I do think that if Kentucky football wasn't doing what they're doing now, everybody would be on board for Kentucky basketball more than what they are now. It's because, and that you have to give it to Stoops for that. I mean, and even though I've talked crap about him, I mean, it's been a while since Kentucky fans have been this excited over football. And like you said, it's just crazy to think that we still are in the running to go against Alabama.
We are number one at this time. Now, this is before we've played Memphis. We are number one in the SEC East. Or Missouri. We are number one in the SEC East. Now, we'll see what happens after Missouri and Georgia, but you can't even in my time of watching UK football, we've never even been mentioned in the same breath as that. So it's been crazy.
Well, let's just see if Stoops can make some adjustments. He's definitely got to make some adjustments on the quarterback way of things. Terry touchdown. He has not been having a good season.
No.
I mean, we're 6-1, but God, those mistakes that he was making, we were very lucky. We squeezed by those wins, and he played terrible in that Vanderbilt game. We're going to have to see. I'm sure that Stoops will start, Terry, on Saturday against Missouri.
Yeah.
But Gunnar Hoke will be ready to
and
get in
just
there.
in case something happens.
He'll be ready. Yeah.
Now, I wonder how Cal feels about this. I know Cal said kind of jokingly in a press conference where he said, "Well, this time of season, I'm second banana to Stoops."
Yeah,
and
he's so full of crap. I love Cal.
Do you think it kind of burns him that people are paying more attention to UK football than basketball right now?
Dude, it is killing him. It is eating him alive. Calipari wants to be the man, and no matter what he jokes about or what he says, he wants to be the guy. That's why you will never see Calipari at a school that wasn't a basketball school. And that's why you would never see Nick Saban at a school that's a basketball school.
Yeah, he'll never come coach here at Duke. So,
yeah. So, or you'd never see Calipari at a football school because...
but Nick Saban has coached at a basketball school before, Michigan State.
Michigan State?
Now, that was before he became Nick Saban. But, yeah, he was there at the same time. I'm pretty sure he was there the same time Izzo was there.
Cool. I did not know that. That's interesting. Yeah, but that's before. Yeah,
but he left.
Yeah. That was before he became. Yes. Yeah. The Nick Saban.
Then when LSU opened up, he's like, okay,
it's eating him alive. Cal wants to be the guy. He wants to be the guy. He wants to be the face. It's kind of like Nick Saban going and coaching at I don't know what's another good Duke. You wouldn't see it happen.
No, dude, Arizona, something like that. He wouldn't leave to be the king on campus, which Cal will always be, no matter how good Stoops and our football team will go. Cal basketball will be priority at this college.
Yes, sir.
I love all the attention the football team is getting, but this is a basketball school. And I love Max Godby the Deaf, and I love the BB and Chalk Talk guys the Deaf, but this will always be a basketball school.
It will, and truly, when Kentucky plays Duke, football will take a back seat.
Well, and that's what I'm wondering. If they lose to Georgia, will that just kind of be the switch that finally switches for people? Like, okay, it's time to switch into
it could happen if they lose to Missouri.
Yeah,
if they lose to Missouri, it's over.
But by the time this episode comes out, we will have already played Missouri, so we'll know how either excited or disappointed people are by this time.
So, okay.
Yeah.
Let's hope they win.
So in case we won, let's go Cats football. In case we lost, let's go Cats basketball. Beat Georgia, beat Duke. But yeah, man. Either way, we can say this: football, basketball, soccer, rifle. All these teams that are ranked right now, it is a good time to be a UK fan.
Absolutely.
Yeah, man.
Proud to be a part of the Big Blue Nation.
Absolutely. Is there anything else that we missed out on you want to highlight on?
No, I'm just happy that you had me back on the show, man. It's always fun to be a friend in the corner.
Oh, yeah.
And to be be a part of another episode into the archives.
Yes, sir.
I really appreciate it. Am I the most listened to episode that you've had? Of course I am. No, you don't even have to answer
that. You're somewhere between Ryan Davis and the Bourbon Review.
Oh, okay. Hey, there you go. Did I beat Max Godby? Did I beat him?
No. So at this moment, if we want the rankings right now in my top three, they are DJ Otis Badass.
Okay.
Which you said you
understandable, right?
From Primetime Wrestling, DJ Otis Badass. I think the Bourbon Review might be. Oh no, Seed Leaf is number 2, followed by West 6.
West 6. Well, you need to get on there and promote. You need to promote the Adam Banks show.
I'm trying, man. You know what? This will become our most listened to episode when UK basketball goes and beats Duke.
Yeah, I mean, anytime you talk about Kentucky basketball, it draws an audience, and that's why a lot of people like doing podcasts over Kentucky sports, because there's so many fans. So it's going to draw some type of crowd.
Yeah. Well, we've got a lot of good UK games coming up here for both football and basketball. We're excited, Adam. I can't wait, and hopefully by episode 22, we'll have you back on here, and Kentucky will already be going to a bowl game, and we'll already be beating Duke and already in the middle of our season as well.
Yes, sir. Well, thanks for having me on. Go Cats.
Is there anything you want to pitch before we leave, your social media or anything?
Yeah, if you guys just want to hear my own podcast, you can check us out on iTunes. Just type in Off the Cuff. You'll find the podcast there, and you can follow my podcast Facebook page at Off the Cuff with Adam Banks. Just type in facebook.com/Off the Cuff with Adam Banks. And follow me on Twitter, AdamBanks88. And listen to the archives. You might get something out of the show. You never know.
All right. Well, guys, thank you, Adam, for coming on, man. Go Cats.
Go Cats. Thanks, Dan.
All right. Well, that's it for our 2018-2019 Kentucky basketball preview. Thank you, Adam Banks, for coming back on our show. We can't wait to have you on again. And I can't wait for this new basketball season to get started. So get ready to cheer on UK this weekend against Georgia, then tune in Tuesday and watch the boys play Duke in the State Farm Classic. Like I said before, it is a great time to be a part of Big Blue Nation. So we'll see you next week for another episode of Friends in the Corner podcast. You know where to follow us. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and leave us a review on iTunes and Stitcher. Goodbye and go Cats. That's a wrap.